All right, I can't. I can't take the bad news anymore. I just can't. I need to take a brief, left turn into fantasy land. I have a 7-year-old grandson. I have a 12-year-old granddaughter and a 19-year-old and also a 2-year-old. So I run the gamut, and the most important thing in our family is reading. We are raising kids who read. I was a reader, my children were readers, and now our young grandkids are readers. So I was excited about this one particular book that was geared towards, I guess, what would you say? By the way, welcome to the show. Heidi Schulz is the author of Hook's Revenge, one of the books featured at the International Book Fair here in Miami. What possessed you to write Hook's Revenge?
Oh, hi, Joyce. Thanks for having me this morning. When my daughter was little, I read the original Peter Pan to her, and I didn't think she was even listening to it. She wasn't quite 3 when I decided, for some strange reason, to read J.M. Barrie's original book to her. But one day, a few weeks in, she came to me and she said, "Mom, my fairy is dead. Clap your hands."
Oh, wow.
And that really was the birth of her imagination.
Mm-hmm.
She hadn't started pretending until right about that moment. And it caught. She loved Peter Pan. He was her alter ego and her imaginary friend. So we spent a lot of time fighting pirates together. And I feel like that every good story starts with a question. And one day I wondered, what if Captain Hook had a daughter? And all of a sudden I had this image in my mind of this young girl with wild curly hair, and she was wearing this mud-stained white dress and dressed in Captain Hook's iconic red jacket, and it was too big and dragging on the ground. And I was so intrigued by this idea and this character that I just wanted to tell a story to figure out what would happen.
Yeah, and so taking the villain side.
Yeah, really. I mean, he is definitely the villain. He's still the villain. I don't water him down in the story. But I was really interested to see what it would be like for a young girl growing up under that shadow and wanting parental approval, but at the same time being the child of a villain. So... and
it's funny, Pirates of the Caribbean was the first time you ever saw a female pirate, and she became one of the most popular characters immediately.
Right. I just did an interview last week, and they asked about that, and if I had written this in response to some of the typical fairy tales where girls are much more passive. And it was important to me to be able to write a girl that could do anything, because I feel so strongly that is true. When my daughter was little, she liked to wear a princess dress, but she had a sword in her hand, a plastic sword in her hand. And so I wanted that feeling to come across for Jocelyn. She is a girl that wants adventure. She starts out the book in a finishing school where she is being forced to become a lady, and she wants nothing to do with dancing and manners and all of those things. She wants her father to come in and take her on an adventure. But if you'll remember, at the end of Peter Pan, he was eaten by the crocodile.
The tick-tock, tick-tock.
Yes.
Yeah.
So after that happens, she is sent to the Neverland to avenge him, to hunt down that crocodile and to avenge Captain Hook. And so she has her adventure, but it's much more difficult than she imagined.
Oh yeah, being a pirate ain't easy.
Right. But she has an inept pirate crew. One member of her crew is named One-Armed Jack, but he actually has 2 arms. He just keeps one tucked inside his shirt, so he looks tougher.
Yeah.
And so she has this crew that is not that would not live up to her father's standards at all.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and Peter Pan, he's very annoying to her and thinks that she needs to be rescued, where she just definitely does not need rescuing. And so she has a lot of struggles, but they're a lot of fun, I think, to read about. They were a lot of fun to write.
Oh, yeah, I think it's great. And, I have one of my granddaughters, my eldest granddaughter, is actually in the Army. So we buck those traditional roles all the time in this family. And I just, I'm excited to give this book. I'm actually going to give it to my middle granddaughter for Christmas, because she's an adventurous spirit, and I know she'll love it. And I'm going to read it to the boys, because the boys need to see girls as fellow pirates. I mean, Jake isn't the only guy in the Neverland.
Definitely, and I think that there's enough adventure and humor and fun in the book, I think that it will really capture boys' attention as well. They won't even realize that they're learning that girls can do all of those things at the same time. So
yeah. Now tell me a little bit about yourself. I understand that you are interested in making all kids excited about reading, and that you
yes.
that you actually homeschooled your kids.
I do. My daughter's 14 now. I still homeschool, although she takes quite a few classes outside the home as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I when she was younger, I read to her so much, and I thought that reading would come naturally, and the joy of reading didn't come as quickly. It was hard for her. She was intimidated by too many words on a page or too many words in a chapter. And one thing that really got her reading was graphic novels. That was a big help to her. But then also books with shorter chapters, which is something that I intentionally did with Hook's Revenge, because she would come to me and she'd say, "Mom, I just read 5 chapters today." And they may have only been 5 to 7 pages a piece. They weren't, 20-page chapters, but it was a sense of accomplishment, and it just kept her going.
Yeah.
Humor is great, too. Anytime you can get a kid laughing, it'll keep them turning the pages.
Oh, absolutely. That's why, Shel Silverstein and all those, those books that when they were first introduced to me as a parent with my own children, I said, this is absurd. Why, this doesn't even make sense. The wheel has a missing piece. But my children would get hysterical over, the giraffe and all of these characters that came to life. And of course, in my own childhood, Dr. Seuss, it was the humor that kept me. Little did I know he was actually writing books about very grand subjects.
Yes. Yeah, we've come a long way from Dick and Jane.
Yes.
It's okay for kids to enjoy reading. It's great for kids to enjoy reading as they're learning to read. Mm-hmm. Getting a love of reading early on can last throughout a lifetime.
Absolutely.
And that comes from giving them things that are going to speak to them on their level.
Right.
I'm a big fan of Roald Dahl. I think that his writing really speaks to kids. He knew what kids liked and what they could handle, and adults don't always get that, or didn't always get that.
No, or don't always agree and don't always like it, But my kids, they absolutely, just everything from Willy Wonka to, I can barely think of a Roald Dahl story that they didn't like and that wasn't taken to James and the Giant Peach. Listen to me. Now we're talking a long time ago, the BFG, It's
that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, but for me to remember that kind of stuff was because my kids took such pleasure in it.
And they're funny and they're subversive, and kids love it. So that's
The Giver was a recent one with the high school age kids and the middle school kids. Yeah, and then you saw that they turned that into a movie for adults.
I thought that the movie was a fairly good adaptation too. We went to watch it as a family. I read The Giver to my daughter when she was 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. And we had some really great conversations about it and what the difference between, or the line you have to balance between doing what's good for a community and ultimate free will and choice
and being an individual. Yeah. Well,
books are so important. I think they just give us a common language. They give us something. It's a platform for speaking about deeper issues.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm so passionate about helping kids find that love of reading.
Yes. Well, and today there's a tragic story here at a Florida State University where there was a shooting, and one of the kids is claiming that he's lucky to be alive because he had a backpack full of books that stopped the bullet from hitting him. So, he literally found a bullet among his shredded books. The Oxford Context of Wycliffe's Thought caught the slug. So books can be used for many things. Books will keep you safe. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on board. The book is called Hook's Revenge. The author, Heidi Schulz, with some great illustrations. Who did your illustrations? I love them.
His name's John Hendricks, and he is an amazing illustrator. He has some of his own books out. He just had a picture book come out. I think it's called Shooting at the Stars.
And
it's about the World War II Christmas Truce, where the two sides stopped fighting on Christmas Eve. A great picture book, but yeah, I'm a big fan of his work.
Oh, yeah, there's a picture of Hook towards the end of the book that's just fabulous, rising up out of these waters. Yeah, it's like a great, I love a good illustration. Well, thank you so much. Your book is being featured at the International Book Fair and, of course, available everywhere, Amazon, Books, Barnes & Nobles, all the good stuff.
Thank you. I'll be doing a panel on Sunday afternoon if anyone wants to come down at the Miami Book Fair.
Oh, cool.
And I'll be in room 1164 at 3 o'clock. So
Beautiful.
if anyone wants to come down, I'll be talking about fairy tale retellings.
The weather's lovely. You're going to like it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. It's a very cold, gray day in Oregon today.
Yeah. Oregon is not similar to us in climate.
No,
Thanks so much,
all.
Heidi. I appreciate
Thanks, Joyce.
it.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good day.
It's really quite a good book. I hope that you'll get it for your kids, get it for your grandchildren. Let's take a break, and we got to wrap this up. At 3 o'clock, there'll be a press conference from Tallahassee with the Tallahassee Police and the university administrators.